You've clearly done that.
Because I'm named in that article.
Oh yeah, you're the main problem.
You see it?
No.
The Syracuse Board of Zoning Appeals meeting of February 16th, 2023 is now in session. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the January 26th, 2023 minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any modifications or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are officially adopted. There are no resolutions to approve, so the board will now conduct the public hearing on today's agenda. The way we work it is that first the applicant or the applicant's representative will state the reasons for the requested variance and present any material or documentation which is to be considered regarding the proposal. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given the opportunity to address the board. Then persons who wish to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or a representative will be given the option to make any closing arguments or comments to the board. Following the public hearings this afternoon, the board may make a decision on each application heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public hearing. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed into the record except for information that the board may request. That information will be available for public review at the zoning office in City Hall Commons. Staff will now introduce the first application.
The first application is Z-23-02, a use variance request to waive permitted uses at 1154 and 1152 Grant Boulevard. The proposal is to establish a beauty salon with accessory parking. The owner is Sammy's Beauty Salon, Beauty Box LLC. The zoning district is residential testing.
I'm William Pitcher at 124 Fiegel Avenue, Syracuse, New York, Pitcher Architect representing the applicant. Just to let you know, the drawings that you have today have changes from the original drawings. And what has happened, the changes are, in short summary, the handicapped ramp on the parking lot side is deleted, and a handicapped lift on the front of the building is proposed. And this is an issue with the building permit, providing legal exit for the handicapped access to the building. We originally proposed for subdivision, re-subdivision of the two parcels that is still in the plans, but because of the building permit issue, we are asking that the variance be, one use variance be granted for the two lots as shown on the drawings, and that when the two lots are combined, that the same conditions shall prevail and we won't have to come back and modify the variance again. Okay. The history of this particular...
Is that something we can do?
No, I don't believe you can. It could condition the approval on the subdivision granted, but you can't grant a variance for something that's not before you, which would be the single lot.
So I guess the question back to you would
Okay.
be, what would you prefer we try to accomplish?
A variance on two lots. One variance, two lots.
Not the subdivision.
With the condition that
That
the
it will be
re-subdivision be
subdivided in the
approved.
future.
Is that allowed?
I think you need to do a variance on the lot that exists right now.
And then we'd have to do,
Two lots, are they subdivided, are they dividing lots?
Well, I don't think
There are two existing separate lots
yeah, I think the question is if
to be combined into one
the
lot.
subdivision runs with only one parcel, do they have to come back?
Oh, I see.
Which lot?
To two lots.
Yeah, so you can hear it, but you have to condition your approval on the subdivision going through.
Okay, the history of this building, the first variance is like 1979, and I think that was the original approval for the present building, which was a monument sales room, cemetery monument sales room and workshop. Somewhere around 2018, for some reason, the single parcel that held the building was re-subdivided into two parcels, which are the present two parcels. The building has been used since 79 to about 2015-16 as the monument business. It's an established fact in the neighborhood. The building was sold to the, we'll call him the first buyer. And the first buyer, you probably remember, wanted to put a convenience store in this particular building, which was denied. He sold the building to the present owner with assurances that commercial use was permitted on this property. So basically, we're saying as far as self-created hardship, what was presented to the buyers was that there was no hardship.
Is that really due diligence, though?
Well, he provided documents, can explain that. He provided documents to the lawyer attesting that it was a viable commercial property. He has since been deported, so he's not available for questioning. Okay, now, so we are now at the second buyer of the parcel, and the proposal is to have a barber shop beauty parlor in the building. The previous denied variance kept the existing parking on Pleasant View. We're proposing to move the parking to the center lot from the west side of the building on the street to the east side, the interior parking lot, and that is the same parking lot we showed before. The old parking lot on Pleasant View will be taken up and lawn will be created in there, and that has gone through with parks and with traffic review, so, and the city is willing to put in 3 trees there. And we're going to correct the lack of any drainage or curbing along the roadway. It's an unimproved street that has a ragged asphalt edge. There is no curb to keep vehicles out of the new proposed lawn, or to keep vehicles, or to keep the water from eroding the existing lawn without that drainage. The parking lot basically will be for the business. So you're looking probably at 1 customer per hour, or 1 customer every half hour at most. So in terms of the demand on parking and the amount of vehicles going in and out of the property, it's a very low impact on the neighborhood. This was, in the last hearing, something that the neighbors were concerned about. They were looking for something that had low traffic volume, the commercial contractors business, or a professional business, or a beauty salon. So basically, we are proposing something that is similar to what was there for the last 35 years. A low-impact commercial on a corner, and we're making improvements. We're providing safe parking, off-street parking. The previous parking lot to Pleasant View, the traffic planner didn't like it because you had to back into traffic to get out of the parking lot. The new parking lot, you drive in, you park, you have room to turn around within the parking lot and head back out to Grant forward, so you can see traffic. We're going to, in terms of additions, we're going to put a little bit of a roof over the front porch for the handicapped lift and for the handicapped platform. That is basically, and the windows and doors get, the broken windows and doors get fixed and replaced. The signage remains as shown previously. It's a faux stone banner across the front of the building made out of styrofoam and stucco. So we're pulling off the monument thing, and we're just putting a box sign in front of the new flat surface. So there will be some traffic control signs. There is a strange thing about this lot. The entrance into the parking lot is on a shared driveway easement to a third property. And that was, I've submitted the easement agreement, so that's why when you look at my drawing, it stops at the property line and you don't see anything into Grant. But that is a legal entitlement of the parking lot plot, the easement to get into it using the existing curb cut at the street. I believe that's all I have to say about the zoning issues.
So the land was vacant long enough that any existing variance no longer applies, is that right?
It would still apply, but
How long would it have to be empty before it would be annulled, I guess?
2 years.
most of the land.
Depends with the land. A variance doesn't expire, it runs with the land.
A use variance,
I'm sorry,
this is a use variance, right? So it would expire after a couple of years.
when it changes, yeah,
It's like vacant.
right, so, yeah, that's correct, I'm sorry.
So we're not talking about a new variance that changes the existing variance. We're talking about going all the way back to the basic zoning, which is A, I think, and that allows a residential and
It's a residential lot, and no commercial is allowed on it
Is
by
there-
zoning.
Is their home business allowed? Somebody within their home could have a business as long as they're occupying the house?
That wouldn't be allowed
That would not
in
be
this
allowed.
situation.
So we're really down to a variance on a residential lot where nothing else is allowed except a house. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a commercial, it's a building that was used commercially in the past.
We know that it has a history of commercial use as well.
The building does.
Yeah.
Basically, the only allowed, without a use variance, the only allowed use of that building is a residence. We would have to gut the building and build 2 apartments in that to comply with the zoning code. That is the only permitted use.
For $351,000, I recall.
And that's where I was going. Do you have an analysis of the costs of
Yeah, it's in
doing, okay? Could you go through that, please?
48.
I don't have it in front of me. Basically, I provided you with the cost of construction for the interior work.
This is the cost of the building.
Okay.
So basically, you would have to invest that amount of money, and then on top of that, you would have to finance that amount of construction in addition to the cost of buying the building, which is already invested in it. And so trying to get a reasonable rate of return at current rates for that particular neighborhood, you'd be in luxury rental territory.
What's the marketing history of the building since the Monument Company left?
That I don't know. I do know that the second owner bought it, and he did have a sign in there for the 2 years that he owned it, you know, call me, and so I assume he was trying to sell it during that period. I didn't see any realtor's signs on it.
By way of information, I used to walk past it all the time. It was vacant since at least the summer of 2020, if not longer, judging by the height of the grass next door.
Yeah. They closed before 2020?
Yeah, the monuments, I think, closed around 15 or 16, 2015, 2016. He owned it for several years.
So the part where you said that you were lied to was the part where the existing owner told you it was a certified commercial space.
Yes.
And he got deported, you said, but this was in writing? Do you have those documents?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Just to put it into the record.
Hi, my name is Samantha Connors.
Give us an address, please.
My home address?
Yeah, sure.
136 Warden Ave, Syracuse, 13208. I have it right here. I live in the neighborhood. My husband and I have lived in the neighborhood for the past 22 years, so we're very familiar with the building. It sat vacant for a number of years, and then one day there was just a for sale sign up in the window. There was no real estate company or anything. And so I called the number on the sign. It was, just a handwritten sign. And there was a strong language barrier between myself and the other person. I had an attorney and a real estate agent. He chose to go forward without. And so he submitted documents that my attorney requested. And they were false documents, unfortunately. And my lawyer was like, this is just unheard of. Nobody submits false documentation because you void out the whole sale. But he did, and it has the Onondaga County, seal on it and everything, and it says that he's selling this building in its zone commercial. We took all of our savings to buy the building, to put our business in. We've been operating our own business for 21 years in Mattydale. We took all of our savings to buy this building and specifically bought it because we were told it was commercial. And second, because it's in our neighborhood and we wanted to, stay close to home with our business.
When you say it voided, well, I didn't understand what you meant, it voided the sale. You did buy, you purchased it and you own it, right?
I do, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I would not have bought the building if he said it was zoned residential. And everything he gave us was signed and certified saying that it was zoned commercial, and it wasn't. It was residential.
And what you're holding, is that what he gave you?
Yeah, this is one of them.
Yeah.
He really buried us in paperwork by not getting an attorney or a real estate agent. And so I just grabbed something quick.
Okay. Is that of interest? Should we get a copy of that or anything? Is that relevant at all?
No.
No,
I
okay.
mean,
Okay, it's good to know, but, okay, thank you.
I mean, it goes to the hardship probably, but you don't have to have a copy. She's testifying.
Yeah,
It's a public
okay,
hearing.
thank you. Questions, other questions from the board? Are you finished, Mr. Pitcher?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, okay, well,
If we approve, how many stylists would be in the building at a time?
Right now, myself, my husband, and my daughter operate the business. We would be able to put in 2 more stations, 2 more employees. So it would be a grand total of 5 people.
All at the same time?
We would stagger the schedule. There's no reason to have 5 people there at once. The 3 of us have established clientele that we do weekly. We kind of know what our numbers are of the amount of people that come in every week for us.
are you able to walk tour?
I could, yes.
Because if there are 5 employees at once, that takes up all the parking spaces. Or 5
Most likely we would walk because we're literally like 2-3 blocks away.
Is there street parking there, not on Grant Boulevard, I don't know?
There's some parking on Pleasant View, but it would not be used in a commercial basis, no.
But if the
Well-
parking lot were ever full, people could park on
Yeah,
the
I mean,
They could. Yeah, they could. They do now, actually. I mean, I don't know who is parked there right now, but there's a vehicle there.
Is your shop, what was it, Mattydale?
It's in
Is
Mattydale.
it still in operation?
Yes, it is.
And are you counting on those customers coming there or building up a new clientele from,
I think a little of both. Definitely, we've had an existing clientele for a number of years, so I'm assuming that they'll follow us to our new location. Everybody's been very excited about it. And at the same time, yes, I would like to see growth in my business, and I see the potential for growth at that location. And I think that it's a positive to the community, whereas they did not want a convenience store or a tobacco shop, and I understand that. I have one at the end of my street, and I don't like it.
I guess we didn't like it either, we sold it down, so.
Yes, yes, and I'm on Warden, and on the corner of Grant and Warden is a convenience store, and it does change the neighborhood. It does. There's no 2 ways around it.
Other questions?
Can you tell us about the lift? We hadn't seen that before today.
Bill Pitcher. Basically, the lift is a standard 36-inch, and we need to go about 24 inches up from the ground. Now, the parking lot ramp was 24 feet long, so this is in place of that long ramp, and it's just going to It's probably going to lift that much. And then we'll be on the deck of the porch going to the front door.
So the handicap parking spot to the lift,
Right.
it's all paved and,
Yeah, the code issue is egress for people in the building and out of the building to the street. The building code does not deal with the fact that you have parking on an adjacent parcel and that people are coming from an adjacent parcel onto this lot to get to the lift, to get into the building. There isn't that requirement in the building code. That's a zoning code.
but you were going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, when they get re-subdivided, but the point being that the lift allows us at this particular time to get the construction going, get the plans reviewed for building permit while we're going ahead with all of the other things about getting the re-subdivision scheduled and the maps and all of those things.
Where will you be installing curbing?
There will be no curbing as such. What is going on Pleasant View is basically a concrete gutter between the existing asphalt and the new lawn. And that happens if you look over on Mountain View or over in Eastwood. There are a couple streets that have that kind of thing. When I was involved in TNT for many years and you asked for curbs on streets from DPW in their annual capital budget, we don't put curbs on unimproved streets.
Will there be a sidewalk?
Yeah, the sidewalk is separate from the drainage.
And there'll be a new
that's-
concrete sidewalk where the parking area is now?
Correct. The sidewalk stops at the beginning of the existing asphalt. So when that asphalt goes away, the sidewalk will continue across the property to the next residential house.
And the city has agreed to put in trees between the sidewalk and the street?
Yeah, and they promised 3 trees,
That should help to keep parking from coming back there again.
probably.
Other questions? The separate lots, the first issue you were talking about, I'm asking anybody who will answer it. Where does that come into our deliberation? Is it relevant to our?
I'm sorry,
It's a use variance, so we're deliberating on the use. But he's got 2 lots that he wants to make it to 1 lot, but now we're going to be voting on it as if it's 2 lots. So does that have any relevance to?
We're saying on the condition that he can eventually get a recombination.
Yeah.
yeah,
If-
the application's for the 2, so you're voting on it as 1 lot, with your approval, if you give it.
Conditional on getting-
On the successful subdivision.
What's holding that up?
We just need the survey to get the survey going. We got 1 survey, but it got sent back for revision, so we're waiting for the next hearing date and application date for the re-subdivision. The other issue on the second lot is it is also zoned residential, and that parking lot would not be permitted under the residential zoning. So that's the reason for the variance on both lots.
You can't have a residential lot that has only parking on it. What about the original monument sign in the front yard?
We are basically going to put a light box sign in that construction unless, you want it removed. I think it's partially in the right-of-way,
Yeah, I think it is.
but so far, no one has said to remove it.
Well, I was on the board, I think, when we approved allowing it there because it is partially in the right-of-way. So I think it would have to be, if it's going to remain, it would have to be part of our variance.
Yes.
Staff, is it in the right-of-way, the city right-of-way? So does the city have to approve it as well as us?
How could we have approved a sign in a right-of-way?
They said they really, really needed it, and it had been there for a long time.
How could we approve something in a right-of-way as
Oh,
well?
well, yeah, you're right.
The
We,
DPW and engineering side, and normally they would comment that you need permission to approach, but didn't have it. He didn't comment. I mean, if ultimately the city says we want you to get encroachment for that, they can do that.
I mean, the point is that there is a building permit which deals with just the building issues, and we're going to have to probably do 2 site permits, one for the site work on the building lot and one for the parking lot site work. So they will be reviewing those building permits, and if that issue comes up in the next review of the site, then we will address it, either get the permission to stay or to remove it.
The encroachment might already be on file, and we don't have to deal with it at all.
Okay, that's fine for me.
Other questions? Any other questions? Thank you very much. Close the case, and oh, is that okay? Is everybody here who wants to speak in? Forget about closing the case. I'm sorry. Who wants to speak in favor of the application? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dallas Bryson. I'm the small business facilitator at NITA, located at 101 Gertrude Street. And as you know, the longer a property remains vacant, the more not up to code it becomes, either because of deterioration of the building or changes to codes. And this property, no matter what's going to go there, is going to need some kind of variance. Obviously, the tobacco stores and the corner stores were not something that the community was interested in making allowances for. I'm surprised not to see more people here in support today based on the positive feedback that I've seen in the community. Hopefully somebody maybe submitted a letter or two. So generally there's been positive feedback at the idea of a business which might be hiring from within the neighborhood and providing services to the tenants that are, the residents that are in walking distance there. So we would like to comment our support for the business.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else? No. Is there anybody who wants to speak against? No. Now I will close the case. So, this is B2302, use variance, waive permitted uses 1154 and 1152 Grant Boulevard. Is there a motion on the variance?
Mike says I have to make a motion. So I'll make a motion to approve conditioned for the use variance requested, conditioned upon the re-subdivision approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, you want to give us your
First test, the applicant cannot realize a reasonable rate of return. Included in the application materials was a project budget to turn the property into 2 apartment units for $351,000. That, given market conditions and other costs, would not, the math wouldn't work there in order to rent those apartments at that building cost. So, yes. Second, the alleged hardship relating to the property in question is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the neighborhood. This is a, well, soon to be 1 lot on a commercial street, mixed commercial and residential street anyway, but this is the only, in that neighborhood, parcel of that particular zoning designation with an existing commercial building on it, so no, it would not, it is unique. The requested use variance would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. As I just said, it is a mixed residential and commercial corridor all through Grant Boulevard. This building has been in place for decades, and so this is enhancing the essential character of the neighborhood, in fact. And finally, the alleged hardship has not been self-created. As the owner indicated, the sale transaction was riddled with fraudulent documents, and so while she didn't build the building and put a commercial building on there, but she did purchase the land, I would say that the weight of the due diligence that would have been required, given that the property owner is no longer in the country, cannot be obtained, and therefore it is not self-created.
Well stated. I would say, too, that this plan is much better than what had been there before, moving the parking out of the front yard of the building and setting things up as it does. Definite improvement to the neighborhood. And we need to make sure that we say it's conditional upon the re-subdivision.
Any other comments? Okay, I can call the question. All those in favor of approving the variance with, you know,
Stated conditions.
with the condition, thank you, say aye.
Aye.
Are they opposed? Any abstentions? No. It's unanimous. Good luck. Okay, authorizations. One authorization for March 10th. So just to reinforce that March 10th is not our regular day. I think it's a Friday.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And,
I will not be here.
okay. And is it at 1 o'clock, Lisa?
Yes.
So Friday at 1 o'clock is the day before the county planning. And so V97, 67, M1 use variance. We've permitted uses at 408 and 414 Lodi Street. Is there a motion to approve the authorization?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
So,
Second.
Laura?
All those in favor say aye.
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 That's nice.